This is corkscrew. We have variation 1, 2, and 3, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This exercise is going to teach pelvic stabilization, circular motion through your hips and your pelvis, lower abdominal lifting, and spinal articulation. We are going to begin lying down on our back. A lot of hamstring mobility is required for this exercise, so if you have tight hamstrings, you might need to keep a slight bend in your knees, and I recommend sticking with corkscrew 1 and 2 until you can extend your legs straight up without an immense amount of pulling in the backs of those legs. So you're here if you feel strain in your hip flexors or your lower back begins to arch off the mat. We need to maintain anchored pelvis, sacrum, and lumbar spine. Those legs are going to be extended up in corkscrew 1. You're going to begin to shift your legs slightly over to one side. You're going to make a circular motion as your legs slightly lower away from your midline. You're going to circle up the opposite side of the circle and complete the circle at the top and reverse it. Shifting the legs off to one side, circling the legs down, up and around, and completing that circle. Imagine that you're drawing a circle on the ceiling. Now moving into variation 2. Variation 2 is going to add a lift of the pelvis using the opposition of the arms, grounding down into the mat. In variation 2, if your knees are slightly bent, you're going to think about circling the knees on the ceiling versus the toes. If the legs are fully extended, circle the legs over to one side, come down and around, swooping up the opposite side, completing the circle, and reverse it, complete the circle. Now add a little hip lift, initiating from the lower abs, and imagine you're poking those toes through the ceiling. So let's do that again. Start the circle in the opposite direction, swoop around, down, and back up, reverse it, over, around, down, and back up, and bump up, not over. Lift. That's corkscrew 2. Moving into corkscrew 3, we are going to find that circle and begin to lift up and out of one side of the spine, finding a jackknife position. This is a backwards rolling exercise. Initiate the circle down, around, up one side, and lift. Roll down the side of the spine that you lifted out of and initiate that circle down and around and up the opposite side. Use those arms in opposition to stay long. Roll down the sides of the spine. It's not a twist of the pelvis. Beautiful. So you've got beginner with just the circular motion of the knees and toes, depending on if we can find that full leg extension. Corkscrew 2, intermediate, adds a double circle plus a hip bump. We want to bump up, not over, to initiate the lift out of your center, out of your core, making the abdominals do the heavy lifting versus using momentum to carry you over, because as you see, corkscrew 3 progresses to that big circle and that lift into that jackknife position to control the spinal roll down through the side of the spine. So let's do all 3 of them in real time, starting with corkscrew 1. Keeping sacrum anchored into the mat, legs as straight as you can get them, shoulders are broad. Circle to the right, down, around, exhale up. Reverse it. One more each direction. Now building right into corkscrew 2. Circle twice. Complete that second one, bump up. Now initiate the circle in the opposite direction. 2 circles to 1 bump up. Now we're going to start corkscrew 3. We circle around, down, we go over and lift. Like that jackknife position, roll down one side of the spine. Initiate the circle over and up. Roll down the opposite side of the spine so the legs are slightly angled to initiate that circle. Down, around, and up. Do 3 to 5 each side, and then finish the last one rolling straight down the middle of the spine. Knees tucked to chest, rocking on up to your seat. That is corkscrew 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that you have a strong progression of corkscrew 1 before building to corkscrew 2, and then moving into corkscrew 3. Another great option for corkscrew 2 is to just start doing those bump ups, those little hip lifts before incorporating it into the circle. That's a really great lower abdominal strengthener. This is corkscrew.